Welcome in to a wacky Wednesday here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll see just how wacky it gets, like Clemson men's basketball's great performance, but we need to introduce everyone. I'm Carmine here in Greenville, joined by Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston, Tegan Brown in Myrtle Beach, and Rick Henry in the capital of Columbia. And like I mentioned, we'll start with Clemson men's basketball's wacky and wild win over Boston College. The reason it was wacky, they held Boston College to only 50 points in the entire game, and BC still shot 43% from the field, and that was because they forced Boston College into 19 turnovers, and not something that Earl Grant, Boston College head coach, and formerly the head coach at the College of Charleston, who Kevin is very familiar with, and former assistant to Brad Brownell at Clemson, he will not be happy about it because the mentor got the better of the pupil there, with Brad Brownell winning 74-50. The two stories of this game: the Clemson defense, like I mentioned, holding BC to only 50 points. But if we can pull up this video, also Nick Davidson, a breakout game for the senior forward, the transfer from Nevada. Now, he was a two-time All-Mountain West selection at Nevada, averaging 16 points per game. Still trying to find his role at Clemson with 6 transfers and 4 freshmen on the team. And here's video of their scrimmage against Presbyterian, where he showed flashes and scored very well, but he blew the brakes off of his previous performances at Clemson with this one, because he went for a Clemson career high 25 points, one off his entire college career high, but really it was a 9.5 minute span in the first half when he scored 21 consecutive points for Clemson, and he outscored BC in that 9.5 minute span in the first half, 21-9. All by himself. He finished the game with an incredibly efficient shooting performance, 8 for 11 from the field and 4 for 6 from three-point range. And the young man from California really coming out strong, and a breakthrough performance for him. And such a nice kid, having the chance to speak one-on-one with him. Here's his coach, Brad Brownell, and Nick himself on the career performance.
And the fact that Nick has been humble enough to kind of come off the bench and be the guy that's just, you know, when I was doing the second unit, he was really the leader of the second unit. That just speaks to who he is as a person. I mean, he's a phenomenal young man.
Yeah, I didn't know until I came back out after half. But yeah, that was cool. I just gotta keep my hands to myself next time. Stop fouling.
And on a team note, in addition to Nick Davidson's great performance with 21 points in the first half, Clemson now on an 8-game winning streak. They're 5-0 in the ACC, right at the top of the standings alongside Duke. And this team, after being ranked for the first time this season, Kevin, at number 22 in the country, taking care of BC and Clemson's former assistant Earl Grant, like I said, College of Charleston head coach formerly too. This team is on a roll right now for Clemson.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of going through these highlights last night that you had sent us, Carmine, was looking through the first half video, and it was like, oh, Davidson bucket. Oh, another Davidson bucket. Oh, Davidson, and it was just like, what's going on? And you go back and you look at the score sheet, and it was like you said, 21 straight points. That's an incredibly impressive feat. And this guy is someone who, you know, we can't expect him to score 25 points night in and night out. But if he's a guy that can come off the bench and really give Clemson some offense going forward, especially the rest of this ACC schedule going into the postseason, that's going to make Clemson a really tough team to beat, not only in the ACC, but once they get into the national tournament, Rick.
Yeah, you don't see someone score 21 straight points, not even in, high school, NBA, college basketball. That's quite a feat. But what's some impressive numbers for those Clemson Tigers? 8 straight wins, 5-0 in the ACC, and ranked number 22 in the AP poll, their very first ranking of the year. So I'm really impressed with what Brad Brownell and his crew are doing. Tegan?
Yeah, I know that something Brownell mentioned last night after the game, Carmine, was that his team didn't exactly get off to the high-energy start he wanted them to. Mm-hmm. Was that something you noticed? Do you think it was just a mindset type of, hey, Boston College is at the bottom of this conference, we're going to win no matter what kind of thing, or what do you think contributed to that?
Yeah, it definitely could be, because they've had a long stretch. I mean, they just beat Notre Dame the weekend before, and before that got their first ranked win of the season, hosting at the time number 24 SMU. So it could be that you got two great wins, and you're 4-0 in the conference, coming back home. Kind of a middle-of-the-week game against a winless team in the ACC and Boston College coming in. But what I liked in this game compared to what we saw before, like we've seen against BYU, 10th ranked at the time at Madison Square Garden, where Clemson got off to an incredible start in the first half, going up by 20 points. We've also seen just down the road here at the Well in downtown Greenville, where and we'll go to Kevin in a second, where Clemson gets up by 27 points against Cincinnati in that game, and they lost both of those 20-point leads by the end. Thankfully, hold on to win against Cincinnati, but losing the BYU game. And in this game, they just steadily grew that lead, but like you said, Tegan, didn't get off to a hot start. Steadily grew that lead to where they ended up winning by 24, and there wasn't even a chance that they were going to give up that lead. Now, different competition levels, I'll admit that, Kevin, but nice to see them peaking as the game goes on rather than coming out hot and giving up that lead in the end.
It was, and you talked about the relationship between Brad Brownell and Earl Grant. Like you mentioned, Earl, the former head coach here at the College of Charleston, also a Charleston native, went to Stall High School, has his number retired over there. Something that I thought was interesting after the game was Brownell's talking about how much he hates playing this game, whether it's once or twice a year or even 3 times if they face off in the tournament. Right. Normally when friends face off, it's a lot of friendly competition, and you're really eager to try and stick it to your friend and get the victory. But Brownell was saying how much he hates this game, and he hates going up against Earl because of how much respect he has for him and how much he loves Earl and his family. So that was something I thought was really impressive out of Brownell. And Grant saying the same thing afterwards, how it's pretty much tough for BC to go up against anyone at this point, but going up against Clemson for Earl Grant and BC is tough for different reasons. Tegan, Coastal also in action coming up tonight.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina with another Sunbelt game coming off of their second Sunbelt win of the year. Coastal Carolina beating App State. Now they're hitting the road to Marshall tonight. And looking at a little bit of history between these two teams, Coastal Carolina has only beat the Herd once in the times that they've been playing since the Herd joined the Sunbelt in the 22-23 season. So the Chants do have 9 wins on the year. I've mentioned this a couple times, but over the past 2 years that I've been covering this team, it's been a struggle for them. They had 9 wins 2 years ago. They had 10 wins last year. Now here they are, 1 win away from that mark of last season. So, but this is an impressive Marshall team. They play fast. They've got 11 wins on the year. They have 3 Sunbelt wins. So they haven't exactly gotten to do what they wanted in conference play. But I think Coastal Carolina's really found a lot of chemistry. They've found their playmakers. Joshua Beadle, of course, the former Clemson player, he was the high scorer in their last game against App State. He had 25 points in that one, along with Rashid Jones. He was also really helpful in that game. And then also A.J. Dantzler, another transfer on this team from upstate New York. So, I think they've really found the guys that they need on the court out there to get done what they have to be successful. But I think they're still trying to figure out exactly who they are on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, we'll have to see how they do tonight against Marshall. But again, that's coming up at 7 o'clock.
And you still have time to get yourself a nap before the Gamecock men tip off at Arkansas at 9 p.m. Yeah, they're starring in the late show. And we're still trying to get this Gamecock team figured out. They're 10-6 overall, 1-2 in the SEC. And tonight, they've got a shot at knocking off a ranked team. Arkansas is number 17. And you may have forgotten that Arkansas was one of South Carolina's 2 victims in the SEC. Yeah, they only won 2 SEC games, but they took care of them 72-53 in Columbia last year. And Colin Murray-Boyles led the way with 35 points. Unfortunately, CMB is now doing great things, like throwing down tremendous dunks for the Toronto Raptors. So we'll see if the Gamecocks can come through against a top 25 opponent. Again, the late show, 9 p.m. Carmine.
I think, the words you said really illustrate what we're trying to do with this Gamecocks team is figure them out, because we don't know which team is really going to show up. If they can make a bunch of threes like they did in the LSU game, that will be amazing. They could do that. And Lamont Paris has said that they'll keep shooting those threes. But, Kevin, I don't know about their chances in this game. The Razorbacks, led by John Calipari, favored by 11.5. And also Arkansas is 9-0 on its home court so far this season.
Yeah, I really think Arkansas is one of the teams that isn't getting enough publicity right now. Like you mentioned, they're in the top 20, but I think Calipari's done an amazing job with this team so far. So eager to see what South Carolina can do in this game tonight, and if they can pull off, another big win coming off that road win they've got last week against LSU. Also to mention, Charleston Southern also in action tonight. The Bucks back at home. They had their home win streak broken over the weekend on Saturday against first place High Point, but they're back at home tonight trying to start a new streak as they take on USC Upstate. So we'll have highlights and reaction from that one coming up tomorrow afternoon. That's going to do it for right now for Palmetto Sports Daily. We've got much more coming up right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. In our opening block, we talked about men's college basketball. Right now, we're going to talk about the Gamecock women. They have a big game tomorrow night, 7 p.m. It's a top 5 showdown. The second-ranked Gamecocks hosting the number 4 Texas Longhorns. And this has developed into quite a rivalry since Texas joined the SEC. Last year they played 4 times. They split the 2 regular season games. Carolina beat them in the SEC championship game, and then they beat them in the semifinal game at the Final Four. And Texas took a game back in December against USC, 66-64. That game was played on a neutral court in Las Vegas. And got a little tidbit for you. We weren't allowed to shoot practice, and before we got in to talk to head coach Don Staley, someone told me that Ali Tournevis, the transfer who's coming in from France, dunked in practice today, and Don told us that she will play tomorrow night against Texas. And earlier this week, Texas head coach Vic Schaefer, he was whining and complaining about the SEC scheduling because he has to play LSU and the Gamecocks in consecutive games on the road. Of course, they lost over the weekend to LSU. It was their first loss. And here's what Don has to say about, griping against the SEC schedule.
It's the SEC. It's SEC. It's unforgiving, no matter how you look at it. If you focus on anything beyond the immediate game, it'll catch you. So, I mean, do I think the SEC, we've been the top team in this league for a very long time, and yes, we break down the schedule, and I don't think the schedule benefits us because we've been at the top, and I don't want it to. Don't give us anything. Don't give it, even the type of success that we've had. Don't give us anything. We expect nothing because the road is hard. And if someone sets it up for you to eat off this golden platter, it's not going to be the right seasoning.
Yeah, I found it surprising that Vic Schaefer would complain about the SEC. He was in the SEC before when he was at Mississippi State. Then he left to take over Texas when they were in the Big 12. Now he's back in the SEC. And I don't care what sport you're playing in the SEC, you're going to have a tough schedule. It could be tiddlywinks or marbles. It's going to be very demanding. Carmine.
Yeah, Rick. And also, even if you think that behind closed doors, like with your assistant coaches, like, man, we got to play LSU, which upset them, or, the Gamecocks back-to-back. If you're saying that behind closed doors, it's one thing. If you're saying that in front of people where your team can get that messaging where you're like, oh, yeah, man, they start complaining rather than welcoming the challenge like Don Staley's talking about and going into it with full force. Instead, you got that complaining, oh, man, it's such a drag. We got to play these guys while you're warming up. Well, you got enough of a challenge just dealing with them. And maybe that's why Vic Schaefer's suffered a 19-point loss here just down the street in the SEC championship when they were ranked number 1 last season. Or, that 17-point loss, like you mentioned, in the Final Four. Maybe that's why they're getting blown out in these matchups against the Gamecocks, Tegan.
Yeah, I mean, we talk all the time in sports about how the mindset has a huge impact on the team. So if you're standing there as a player listening to your coach complain about the teams that you have to face, especially after, an LSU loss like that, it's tough to hear. It definitely has to impact you in some sort of way. And, I said this at the beginning of the week, that it's just a nothing argument from him. You have to play these games. There's no use complaining about it, right?
Yeah, good
Looks
points.
like
All.
okay,
Sorry
we go.
there, producer Nick. Couldn't hear you there at first. Yeah, but I asked Dawn. I said, "Were you surprised that someone would come out and say that?" And she gave him a little bit of a pass because he said it after a game, and that's when you're at your most emotional moment. But again, I still can't believe that he said it in public. It's like, hey, everyone has to pull up their big person pants and just go out and get it done. Kevin.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Rick. Especially for a coach who's got as much experience as he does. Like you said, he's been in the SEC. He's been in the Big 12 with Texas, now back in the SEC. He has to know, not only is it a stupid thing to say with a mic in front of you, but with your players right there, he's got to know you're basically giving them an out. Saying, okay, we've got this tough schedule. What if we lose a couple games? That's what it's not fair because of how they schedule. And if that's what he's talking about, I've got some news for him. Once you get to the SEC tournament, once you go to the Upstate and you play that SEC tournament, or once you go to the NCAA tournament, you're gonna have to play good teams 4 or 5 games in a row. So you might as well buckle up and get ready for it right now and use this as a learning experience for your team instead of just whining about it and having to play 2 really good teams back to back. We've got more coming up on Palmetto Sports Daily, coming up right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We are now less than a month out from baseball season. Yesterday marked that month mark, but we've got Clemson baseball and Coastal Carolina baseball both ranked in a couple of these preseason top 25. In the D1 baseball poll, it's the Chants at number 6. And then Carmine, I believe Clemson is number 19 in that one, right?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost
Sorry.
baseball season, so I know that the Chants are trying to get back to Omaha. Clemson's trying to get there this year, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, Tegan, I'm sorry. You hit a single, you moved me over to second, and my base running was off, so now I realized it was
I
a
know,
good
I
lead
was
into
like, I'm
me.
setting
I
you
just
up
have to
and-
take the bait. Yes. No, you set me up perfectly. I'll take it and run around the base path with it now. Yes, Clemson's coming in with a great ranking, another high expectations, and the whole thing is, will they make it back to the College World Series for the first time since 2010, the old Jack Leggett days, but now being led in his 4th season by Eric Bakich, who in his first 3 seasons, 133 wins, the most in the ACC and the 7th most in the entire nation. Also his first year in ACC championship. The second year they hosted the Super Regional, making it to the Super Regional round for the first time since 2010. But last season hosting the Regional for the 3rd straight year, and an embarrassing loss to Kentucky to end their season, losing 16-4. So Coach Bakich was asked about that last loss of last season, fueling the World Series chase this season, and about finally trying to make it back to Omaha.
You mean 7 errors and getting beat by a couple of touchdowns? I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. Yeah, no, it sucks. It definitely leaves a sting, but everybody's turned the page. It's all windshield stuff now and no more rearview mirror. I feel like all we've done for 3 years is talk about Omaha. It's on the back of the hat. It's just something that's rightfully associated with this program and its tradition and history under Coach Wilhelm and Coach Leggett. But it's just at the point now where we just need to shut up and go.
Eric Bakich, one of my favorite coaches in all of the state to talk to, not only because of his comments that are great and emotional and bring you together, but he's just such a great guy as well. So really looking forward to what they can do this year. They return their 2-time first-team all-conference ace pitcher, the K-Man, Aiden Canuck. They lose Cam Canarella, their star outfielder, one of the top picks in the MLB draft. 19 new players on this team, Rick. 12 from high school, 7 college transfers, and then just a couple weeks after the season starts in mid-February is the Palmetto Series between the Gamecocks and Clemson.
Yeah, I was wondering if they still had the word Omaha on the back of their caps because I was sitting here thinking the last time they were there is 2010, and that was the first of the Gamecocks back-to-back national championships. And, of course, Clemson and South Carolina played in that 2010 World Series, and they also did in 2002. And I know the Tigers have been to Omaha maybe once or twice. And so now 15 years for Clemson and, 13 now for USC. And since then, Coastal Carolina has been twice and won a national championship. So, yeah, it's time for USC and Clemson both to make their way back to Omaha. All right, that's going to wrap up this segment of Palmetto Sports Daily. We're going to call the timeout, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We end things off with some college football today, and Charleston Southern releasing their 2026 schedule yesterday. And the Bucks going to start off the season with 3 straight road games, including the rare Thursday night on the road conference game as they kick things off on August 27th when they travel to Lindenwood. Then they'll head over to Georgia Southern and then a game on the road against the Citadel as well. Their first home game coming September 19th when they play host to Point. That'll kick off 3 straight home games for the Bucks as they'll take on Point, Gardner-Webb, and SC State. Follow that up with a road trip up to Clemson. Carmine's going to take care of video for us on that one. Then they go over to Tennessee State. 3 more home games in a row after that. Halloween against Western Illinois, UT Martin, and then Southeast Missouri State. And then they wrap things up on the road on November 21st when they head up to Eastern Illinois. So Gabe Gardenia looking for big things in his 5th season as the head coach over at Charleston Southern. That's going to wrap it up for today's Palmetto Sports Daily. We will see you right back here on Thursday. Everyone have a great rest of your day.